Let's go ahead and jump into our first topic today, which is that AMD users have the potential to be banned, like VAC banned, from Counter-Strike 2 for enabling a feature in AMD's newest driver drop. AMD made their anti-lag plus feature available for Counter-Strike 2, which unfortunately is implemented by detouring engine DLL functions. So the idea here is that, very similar to NVIDIA's Reflex technology, AMD Anti-Lag Plus is designed to lower the overall system latency for a more responsive gaming experience. But Valve actually tweeted, and this is from their official Counter-Strike handle, tweeted.
Zeeted.
If you are an AMD customer and play CS2, this is in all caps, do not enable Anti-Lag Plus. Any tampering with CS code will result in a VAC ban. Once AMD ships an update, we can do the work of identifying affected users and reversing the ban, but it sounds like you will not be playing the game in the meantime. I'm glad that they did clarify that you will not necessarily be forever banned, lose your hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of skins or whatever else that kids buy these days or whatever. Basically, the way that anti-lag works is it periodically checks if the CPU is ahead of the GPU, and if it is, it throttles the CPU to send fewer frames to the GPU for processing to reduce the load on it. This reduces the frame buffer, thus improving the latency. As far as I can tell, maybe the audience can correct us here, there is no current response from AMD.
And this was posted by Valve at like 10 a.m. this morning.
It is worth noting that I mentioned NVIDIA Reflex, right? Those users are not affected because, according to what I've seen, which I think came from Valve, don't quote me on this part, but they implemented it the correct way. They've implemented it in the game as opposed to just as a driver feature that applies to the game. I have to say, I do wonder if Valve could have simply not VAC banned. Like, could they just... Do you think Valve's doing the right thing here?
Do you mean, like, is there a different way, like, don't allow people to launch if they have this going on and just tell them that they have to go disable it?
I didn't even think of that, but that's a great idea too.
I feel like there's some other way around it.
Yeah, is if they know what AMD has changed and they're aware of it enough to send a tweet, is this something that they could handle a different way?
Considering they tagged AMD in their tweet, I feel like this caught them off guard.
Actually, this is all making no sense to me whatsoever.
It's very weird behavior.
Yeah, how would Valve not have high up contacts at AMD? If I'm AMD, I'm actually probably kind of ticked off right now.
Yeah.
Because this reflects poorly on our product, even if we didn't, strictly speaking, do anything wrong other than try to improve the experience for our users. But then again, maybe Valve's kind of teed off right now because AMD should tell them before making any changes.
I think Valve is getting a lot of negative press right now for CS2 in general, which we can talk about as a part of this topic. And maybe they're trying to like shift some of that elsewhere. I don't know. That's just a potential idea. But this was very weird. Seeing it just blown up in a tweet, them tagging AMD directly. I don't know if it comes across as the most professional ever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'm actually not really weird. I'm not really liking the way that they're handling this.
Feels weird.
And making it the problem of the user.
Yeah. They do say, I think somewhere, once AMD ships an update, we can work on identifying affected users and reversing their ban. It sounds like they're going to try to fix it for people because, not everyone has Twitter. And I haven't checked, but as far as I know, it's not telling people in the game. They just have to know from this tweet, basically.
But then, let's go the other way again. Then, I mean, from Valve's point of view, if you're mucking around with DLLs, then as a graphics card manufacturer and driver writer, should you know better than that? Should AMD have known better than to mess around with this for a competitive online game, especially one
Very
that
likely.
just launched?
I still think as Valve, I handle this differently. I still think you can even send that tweet out, but in a way that's a little different, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that if they just basically said, anytime you're using all caps, you probably need to just...
Yeah. Do the like really big breathe in, pause, additional small breathe in, breathe out, go for a walk. He's going for a walk right now. Yeah. He's literally going outside. I think he's attempting to touch grass. I think that's, he's touching grass right now.
Also witnessed
He's
this.
actively touching grass. He has acquired grass.
Oh God, he's not going to make us touch it.
returning into the building. He touched grass.
Okay.
Ew.
Yeah.
Then we take the caps lock off and
Retype.
say whatever it is that we need to say.
Yeah.
I would do well to take this advice.
Yeah, maybe here and there, but yeah, it seemed I wouldn't give it an A+ as a response. But yeah, I would like to see. I think the like don't allow people to queue thing if they have it. If they don't have that feature already, I think they're hoping that AMD would fix this before they would be able to roll it out.
Yeah,
so they're just trying to get ahead of it.
And like if they, I don't know. I feel like if they can detect this change, temporarily, they could do something as simple, like you said, as not allowing people to queue and popping up an error message. I don't know. Can I change gears a little bit here though, and say something positive about Counter-Strike 2?
Have you played it?
I played it.
Okay.
Sort of.
Okay.
I did some like practice stuff with it because I was working on a video and we needed some games for benchmarking, and everyone knows Counter-Strike is the best game benchmark. I am so excited to play Counter-Strike 2. Do you know why?
No.
Do you remember that like thing, that like tirade I launched into about how ridiculous I think non-random spray patterns are, and how it was clear to me that the intent of the attempt to create randomness in recoil by just having sort of like a fixed thing was clearly a limitation of like early game design and not the designer's intent. And this whole thing where we just like memorize it and draw patterns with our mouse, to me is like it's vestigial in my opinion. And a lot of people disagree with me, and that's super cool. But it looks like Valve is on my side. There's a new crosshair in Counter-Strike 2 that just shows you where the bullet will actually go and moves around according to the recoil pattern. It's built right into the game. It's like an adaptive crosshair. And I was only practicing on bots, but my time to kill was ridiculously low compared to what I've ever been able to achieve in that game. I am so excited to play it now.
Really?
Yeah. You don't have to just fucking guess where the your fucking bullet is going to go. It actually just shows you like a functioning cross. I mean, even an iron sight would move. So if you can track it, then you can stay on it. It's amazing.
This is allowed?
I love it.
What the hell?
I love it.
It's called follow recoil?
Yeah. So cool.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel great. I actually get to play this game now. What is the point? Like, okay, look, if you want to talk like realism or whatever, because one of the most compelling arguments that was made to me
That's so weird.
was that learning the recoil patterns could be equated to, learning how to handle a real weapon or whatever else. You could become more skilled at using the weapon, and that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But even on a real weapon, you would actually be able to at least see where the projectiles are landing with near instantaneous visual feedback.
Yeah.
So this is basically that, because a lot of the time, whether we're talking CS2 or we're talking some other game, you can't actually see a bullet hole where it goes. You have no flipping idea. So in a way, this is more true to the actual original intent while still keeping things, how they always were for the purists.
My brain's exploding right now.
I'm so happy! And there will still be a slight advantage to having it memorized, because while I'm sitting there kind of like keeping my crosshair on someone, you'll be having your muscle memory, which is great, which is fine. But what it means is that players who don't have it memorized are not just basically turning every gun into a shotgun, which is how it works now, as far as I can tell.
You know what's interesting too is that with CS2, there's been a ton of.
I love what a salty gamer he's being right now. This is so much fun.
No, you know why I am?
Sure, yeah, because you're a gamer.
I've been playing a bunch of Wingman. Had no idea this was a thing.
Oh, that's why you're mad.
Yeah. What the heck? Okay, there was one thing we ran into, which was, I think it was called perspective audio or something.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out why I can't hear anyone half the time. There's this balcony thing, and I'm playing under the balcony, and some guy just lands behind me. And I'm like, I didn't hear him jump over the balcony. How did he land behind me?
Sure.
And I ended up figuring out that this perspective audio thing made it so that I hear sounds that are in front of me.
Oh, interesting.
More differently than I hear other sounds or something. And I don't think it works very well because I turn it off and it's like, oh, careful, you might not hear things as positionally as you did before. And suddenly now I can hear things and I know where people are by turning it off.
Right.
So I don't know if maybe that's a me thing. Maybe I'm just used to the old form of audio more. I don't know. But I swear I couldn't hear stuff, and then I turned it off and I could hear stuff. I didn't realize there was, a setting that just tells you where the bullets are going to go.
Square Pusher goes, how's he being salty? He's just debating whether it's a good or bad thing. No, I've just known him a long time. I can tell from his body language and his facial expression.
Oh, no, I was salty.
He's he was a super salty boy while I was talking about this.
I'm just salty because I didn't know it existed. I've been trying to play without it.
And you know what? It's okay. Look, for the people who are upset about it, I'll offer one more kind of parallel that I think might make it make more sense. Valve already has had, going as far back to at least 1.6, which is the first I played Counter-Strike.
Really?
So even going back there.
Are you sure you didn't play an earlier one?
Yeah, I'm very sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't a gamer.
Okay.
I didn't, or I was, but I had a Pentium 166 until 2003. I couldn't play 3D games.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so even going back to 1.6, it's not like the crosshair hasn't always been somewhat adaptive depending on what you're doing. If you start strafing, it'll get a little bit bigger in order to signify that there will be a reduced level of accuracy. You crouch and it gets smaller. So this paradigm has existed in the game for 20 years.
I think the thing that makes it kind of chill to me is if you're at an extremely high level, it's not really going to make a difference anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
But
now the difference between being an elite level player who has it memorized and being someone who's good at FPS but doesn't have it memorized.
Doesn't necessarily play Counter-Strike all the time, just plays much.
It doesn't have to be this. It can be this. So you can at least whatever, or this. The point is it can narrow the gap a little bit so the game can actually be fun at all for people who play FPS but don't play Counter-Strike.
It narrows a portion of the gap that I would argue is mostly frustration.
Yes, it's very frustrated. It's very frustrating if you mostly play games where the crosshair is where the bullet goes, and you drop into Counter-Strike and you go, well, between the netcode and the hitboxes and the utterly f***ing useless crosshair, I have no idea where my bullets are going.
So you've heard
what is even the point? And now I get to sit here for 5 minutes and wait for the next round.
Yeah.
It can be a very punishing gaming experience for new users. And if they want to sell more skins, they've got to make it more accessible, which is great for me. And I'll just not buy the skins. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
I haven't been this excited for Counter-Strike ever, but I'm super down.
Are we going to play at the LAN then?
Oh, I'm 100% down, because I might actually be somewhat useful for a change, because I'm pretty okay. I mean, you know this. I'm pretty okay when it comes to
Tactics, strategy,
covering corners, covering flanks. Like I'm pretty okay at that stuff. My issue in Counter-Strike is I can't hit the broadside of a barn with any of the guns other than the very first bullet. Because because the meta changed from burst fire to just holding it down and memorizing things at some point. And so I'm just like, all right.
Yeah, way back when we first started, it was all burst fire. And then people learned the patterns, and then it was do the full mag, but know the pattern.
Yeah. And so it's just gotten to the point where the time to kill for anyone who would do that was so low that I could be sitting there with 100 health and they have 20, and I'd managed to put one bullet into their ankle, and they'd managed to put 6 through my skull. And I'm just kind of sitting here going, well, this is ridiculous. And it's not because I have terrible aim. I'm actually a somewhat okay FPS player. I'm okay.
You're better than you often put on.
I'm okay. Well, the problem for me is I'm all over the place, though. Like, we've logged into Halo Infinite, and I'm, like, carrying. And then we've logged into Halo Infinite, and I'm getting absolutely nothing done. And I don't think it's because the opponents changed a ton. Like, this is against similar ranked opponents. I'm one of those people who, I don't know what it is, but my day-to-day skill variance is the highest out of anyone I know. And that's not just gaming. Like, that's something I observe in badminton as well. I play against the same people every week.
Super checks.
Every Tuesday.
That's a terrible example, Linus.
Okay. So
I'm going to die tonight.
We've gone from handshaking to like, Luke, you're going to be hard to replace, man.
I've known since last week that this week was going to go very poorly for me, and I've just been embracing it. I've just been poking the bear, being like, I know I'm going to get wrecked. Just might as well have it be epic.
So for those of you who don't have the context for this, I treated myself to a bubble hockey game a little while ago. It looks a little something like this one. And Luke had beat me once before. We play most nights after WAN since we got it, and he beat me once. He's had some close ones. Like, it's not like I just dunk on him every week.
Once outside of last week.
Had you? Was it 2?
I think 3.
Well, it definitely wasn't 3. I'd remember that.
It was at least 2.
Okay, 2 then. So he beat me a couple times, but like they were one-offs, and I had won like 2 or 3 other games that same night both times. Last Friday, he beat me 3 in a row. I was
pretty gapped too.
Not happy.
Like most games, they weren't won by 1 point.
I was not happy.
Yeah.
We had that first absolutely wild game.
That was a nuts game.
He beat me 7-6 in overtime, which I was not happy about.
Very high scoring.
Very back and forth game.
And the shots to score ratio was insane.
Absolutely insane. Neither of us could stop a puck to save our lives.
It was crazy.
And then the next 2 were not even close. This week I'm not around. So let's go, boys.
I knew he was going to take that approach since last week.
I was full effort last week though. Like, I'm not going to make any excuses. I was trying.
Yeah.
I was trying hard.
But you do this thing. This week will not be one of these down here. That's what. So I poked him the other day in the office. I poked him some other time. I don't remember. I poked him right here just because it's like, whatever. I might as well make it fun.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so Counter-Strike 2. I'm stoked. Let's play at the LAN.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, there's just in case you haven't been watching it, the launch of Counter-Strike 2 has been
up and down like my skill level at things.
Yeah, a little weird to say the best, to be honest. Completely removing, that's not necessarily true, because I think people can still play through the game versions thing that you've talked about in the past.
Yep, they can still play CSGO.
But who knows how long that's going to last.
That'll become just completely ignored. It's like it's a very strategic, they know what's going to happen kind of thing. It's kind of like when you when you release a community poll because you know what the answer will be, and then it doesn't backfire and you end up daily driving the LG Wing. It's like that. I don't have one yet. We've bought one on eBay because obviously you can't buy them new, so I'm still on the Note 9. Oh, hey, Sorry, were you going to finish the thought, or can I?
I have a little
pivot?
bit more to go over.
Go ahead.
So yeah, there's the like removal of CS:GO, which some
Super
people are
sexy dead
unhappy
meat.
about. There's the really weird hit reg issues, which people have been debating about quite significantly, about like what's actually happening and what's not happening. But there's a ton of videos you can find online of people clearly shooting people in the head and they're not getting hit in the head. And there's also videos where they show the hitbox, but people have been arguing that the hitbox is that's shown when they're doing that is incorrect or something, and I don't know,
okay.
something's weird, whatever. There's stuff going on with that. There's issues where like people just ranking up is just like not functioning in certain game modes. There's like all this stuff going on that's been honestly really rough, and it's been a weird launch. It's been a weird launch. Feels like it was too early, in my opinion, to be completely honest.
How can you be so early and yet so late?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of
Valve.
true though. Like there was people wanting access for a super, super long time, but then we got it and it was bad.
My Fold.
Yeah.
Dan and I,
With yellow stickers.
don't worry about the yellow stickers.
Okay.
Rude.
Dan and I, especially Dan, made a rescue attempt today,
Yeah.
and I am not going to say anything further on the subject. They're going to have to watch the video, but it's going to be a really fun video. I think, Dan, when's the last time you like co-hosted an LTT mainline video?
I don't think I ever have, because I was sort of like an add-on person for David and your Game Gear video. So this will be my like first co-host.
Oh,
because
sick.
I'm not like a writer, right? So
Cool. Yeah. So guys, if you love Dan and you want to see more of Dan, there you go. That's all you get. Ha! Got him. No, sorry. So there's an LTT video coming soon where Dan and I attempt to recover some very important data that it turns out was on my foldable before it was killed by the pool. Did I tell you what's on it?
Yeah, the intro to some video or something.
Yeah. Well, the intro to a video. The intro to the video where my computer died, which is not something that is
Which time?
the first time.
Okay.
Not something that is easily reproduced. Okay, so here's the thing. That happened a while back. Since then, so when you guys watch the video where I repair the computer, you will be seeing an iteration of the computer that no longer exists because it actually died like less than a week later. Again. That time it was... okay, so I'm not going to spoil the first one. Pretty interesting. It just died. Okay, we fix it. And then the second time, this didn't end up being a video because I was like, look, I can't make back-to-back videos 1 week to the next about like my computer died and I fixed it. There's not a lot of content in here. But it was interesting. I had a leak in the hardline tubing that I was using. I was using PETG tubing, which I just grabbed from the warehouse, not knowing that PETG tubing is out of fashion now in favor of acrylic tubing for hardline because it's much more heat sensitive. So what happened was I used PETG hardline tubing, and during the Sonos like audio box wall video that I did with Alex, we unplugged an extension cord over there, not realizing that it was connected to the pump that was running to the pool. Now, normally thermal throttling would prevent that from causing any kind of an issue. The water would just get really hot in the loop and your CPU would throttle to save itself. But what happened was, it's a perfect storm, right? So we had no pump. The CPU got really hot. We had no pump. It was an all metal block, highly heat conductive, metal top, solid piece of metal. From EK. And then number 3 is
Very
I was
cool.
using PETG tubing. So that heat, with that heat conduction, with that heat sensitive tubing, caused it to contract and bend and
Open up a little bit.
and the O-ring failed.
Yeah.
So it killed not only my gaming system, but also the motherboard of the Storinator server. This is weird. 3 systems lower, but neither of the systems in between. Don't ask me. I still couldn't explain to you how the water killed this one and this one, but not these two.
Were those two wet at all?
And then there was like a bit of water, like on, like the housing casing, like. But there were. This is a video that's coming where I will show the Supermicro motherboard and all the points of corrosion on it and stuff. Like it got wasted.
Wasted.
Surface tension.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
it must have climbed.
Yeah, it must have. It must have
way.
like. It must have like clung.
Yeah.
Under, to something. I don't know.
Wormed its way down.
Water, man.
Yeah.
You can never make something waterproof because water will find it and it will it up.
Pretty much.
That's water.
It's got all the time in the world.
Oh no! Yeah, Chaos the Bomb. They had a Corsair Commander Pro fail on them, causing their pump to fail. Their PETG loop got hot enough for the fittings to be able to compress the tubes. Came back the next day to a puddle under my machine. Oh. Thankfully, it was off. Oh. No damage, but lesson learned.
Oh.
Yeah, very, very lucky. Yeah, years ago, my workstation got killed when the ladies' restroom flooded overnight hundreds of feet away. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. Water, it's like life. It
finds a way.
It finds a way, man. It finds a way. Dams and condoms. That's what they have in common.
What do I have in common with condoms?
They fail.
Things find a way through them.
Oh my goodness.